Just a disclaimer before we get started, I didn't research how to pronounce any of the author names, so if I say them wrongly, please let me know and correct me down below in the comments. And I hope I don't butcher them too badly. Hello, hi, and thanks for stopping by. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Tafara, and today's video is all about books, specifically the books that I read in the month of July. To be honest, by the time I post this video, it'll be too late to be thinking about the books that someone read in July, but anyways, it is what it is. So I started reading in around October or November of 2021. I was a huge bookworm when I was a kid, and then I got back into reading again. So I thought, why not, if I'm starting a YouTube channel, why not share that with the world? Because like I said, why not? If you haven't already, I would encourage you to subscribe and turn on post notifications so you're notified every single time I post this type of content. I'm going to try and explain a summary of the books without giving any spoilers, because I personally hate spoilers and I wouldn't want to spoil it for anyone else who wants to read it. So the first book that we'll be talking about is Verity by Colleen Hoover, who is definitely a household name in terms of book social media. I think a lot of people have heard at least of It Ends With Us by the same author. So I haven't read It Ends With Us yet, but I've read Verity, which is what we're talking about today. It is the story of Lowen, who is a struggling author. Things are not going well for her in life. She's on the brink of financial ruin, and then she's hired by Jeremy, who is the husband of Verity Crawford, a best-selling author, and Lowen is hired to complete the series of successful books that Verity is unable to complete because she was injured in an accident. Lowen accepts the job, obviously, and is given free rein in Verity's office to look at notes, outlines, so she can think about how to go about finishing the series. Lo and behold, she stumbles upon an unfinished manuscript written by Verity for her autobiography, Verity's autobiography. And it's pretty chilling, it's pretty gruesome. She struggles with thinking to herself, should she show this to Jeremy? Should she keep it to herself? Because she doesn't want to hurt him. He's grieving because of tragic events that have happened to their family. So she thinks to herself, should she show him? And then as they spend more time together and the story progresses, she realizes she's developing feelings, and she contemplates whether or not to give it to him to read so he can hate his wife. I don't know, so he can hate her. And because how can you possibly love someone knowing the things that are written in this manuscript? It's quite gruesome. I would definitely recommend reading trigger warnings before reading this book, because it's some pretty dark stuff. I personally had to take lots of pauses to process what was happening in this book, because wow. Thoughts? I thought it was really good. I like the writing style, and I like the fact that by the end of the book you're left thinking and wondering, who should I trust? Whose voice is the most trustworthy? You can't trust anyone in this book. That's basically the lesson that you're taught by the end of it. Don't listen to anyone. It also felt really weird. It felt wrong. I like the way Colleen Hoover writes the progression between Jeremy and Lowen, but it still felt wrong because Verity was still in the picture, so it didn't make sense. It felt so good but so wrong at the same time. It had some interesting turns as well, and plot twists that you definitely won't see coming, which goes back to the fact that you shouldn't trust anyone in this book, not even the narrator. Don't trust anyone. Final rating, I rated it 4 stars out of 5 because I thought it was pretty good. Would I recommend it? Yes. It was so good. It's quite suspenseful, quite different to anything else that I've ever read. I also recommend reading the trigger warnings if you're thinking of reading this book. The next book that I want to talk about, which sort of sparked and gave me the feeling of I really need to talk about this to someone, is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. which is also a popular book on the internet. If you see any book related internet things, this book is definitely one that shows up a lot. It is the tale of Evelyn Hugo. She is a famous actress from the 60s. I think they describe her as a 60s it girl in the book at some point. And she is a well-known actress. She has been in the game. She's been in the acting game for quite a long time, and so she's older, much older now, and she wants to sell her dresses. In conjunction to that, she wants to tell her story. She has decided that it's time for her to tell her story, so she enlists the help of Monique Grant, a struggling journalist. She's getting a divorce. Her writing career seems like it's all going anyway. It seemed like a huge opportunity for her to jumpstart this career because everyone in this book knows who Evelyn Hugo is. Like, if you don't, what are you doing? Evelyn is ready to spill all the tea, ready to spill all, tell all. This is her last hurrah type thing to tell everybody about her life. Much to the surprise of her superiors where she works, and to her own personal surprise too, Monique is pretty surprised when she's asked by the Evelyn Hugo to write her biography. She's like, what? So Evelyn is ready to tell the tale of like how she moved to Los Angeles in the 50s, as well as how she decided to retire her career in the 80s. 7 husbands. She had 7 husbands. Like, Miss Ma'am, how can you get married 7 times? Like, what the heck is that? Like, what the heck? How did she get married 7 times? You find out when you read this book. Thoughts? I really love this book. I really loved it. It felt like I was watching a movie, and the whole time I read it, it honestly felt like I was watching a movie, and I kept thinking to myself like, wow, this should be a movie. So I definitely watched it. It was so interesting, and I think the writing style did a really good job at exhibiting that. I don't know if this book has been turned into a movie. I really hope so because it was so good. I would love to watch it as a movie, or maybe a series. That could be cool too, like 7 episodes for each husband. Yeah, so the book is structured in that she tells us about her 7 husbands as they interweave and interlink into her story, the effects of them on her life. And of course, Monique can't just be the one chosen for no reason because this is a novel. It all has to tie together, so we find out how their lives have crossed paths, how they're interlinked, and it's so crazy, like you wouldn't even predict it. Like, it's insane. I couldn't even tell until I got there. Like, whoa, how did we get here? And it was so interesting, and it tied everything in together really well. So I really enjoyed this book, and I would definitely recommend it. It was really good, and I also like the fact that it wasn't too like explicit in terms of, yeah, just in general explicit. It was just okay. And obviously, with all the praise that I'm giving this book, I rated it 5 stars. The next book that I read, which is in stark contrast to The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, is, spoiler alert, by Olivia Dade. Let me just tell you about the book before I go into my thoughts. So this book is set in the world of fan fiction, which is also something quite different to what I've read before. It's about 2 characters. So it's about Marcus, an actor who plays a character in a TV show that is based on a book, but the way the directors of the show have handled the material isn't something he is a fan of, and so he on the side writes fan fiction where he can steer the story in the way that he feels based on the books it should go. And obviously if they find out, he's gonna get fired because it's a breach of contract. And then on the other hand, we have April, who is, I forget what she does, I'll put it up here, but she hides the fact that she enjoys fan fiction. She writes fan fiction. She hides it from her real life. And then one day, she decides to post a picture of herself cosplaying as the female main character of the TV show / novel. And it gets a lot of traction. the worlds collide and Marcus decides to ask her on a date. Your favorite actor, an actor from your favorite show, asking you out on a date. Like, what I enjoyed about this book, I really enjoyed the characters. I guess I thought it was quite interesting. There's a bit of diversity in terms of the characters because Marcus is dyslexic and April is plus size, which isn't something that I see commonly in popular books. Maybe I'm just not looking in the right places, who knows. But I found this book through a Google search. Actually, I searched for plus size female main characters in romance novels because I was tired of reading about the same character over and over again, so I wanted some variety. So I thought that was cool. This book, for my taste, I'm sure there are other people who enjoy this type of thing, but for my taste, I thought it was too spicy. Too spicy. Like, that was like a good chunk of the book. A third of the book was just spice. That's not my cup of tea. Maybe it's yours. So here's the tea. Take the tea. I like the way Olivia Dade writes their love story. I think it was quite interesting, quite cool. And so I decided to give this book 3.75 stars because it wasn't that bad, but it wasn't my favorite book in the world that I've ever read. The last book that I'm going to be talking about today is Regretting You by Colleen Hoover. Started off with Colleen, ending it with Colleen, rounding it out over here. This was the first Colleen Hoover book that I've ever read in this little life of mine, and it took me a while to jump on the bandwagon, to hop on the train, to hop on the, you get what I mean. It is about a mother and daughter, Morgan and 16-year-old Clara, who could be nothing alike, but so similar at the same time, but they don't realize. They personally think they're nothing alike. Morgan is cautious with her daughter because she had her daughter at, I think it was around her age, 16, 17, and had to get married, put her dreams on hold, put her life on pause because she has to become a mother at a young age. And Clara thinks her mom is boring and predictable. So, of course, they misunderstand each other. They can't find common ground. But fear not, dear reader. They have the glue that keeps them together, which is Chris, Morgan's husband, and Clara's dad. Unfortunately for them, Chris gets into an accident. Unfortunately for them, he gets into an accident and their world is turned upside down, and they're trying to navigate and see how they can cope, especially since they don't really see eye to eye, and it seemed like this one thing that was holding them together is gone, and so how are they going to navigate? I found it quite interesting how the mother-daughter relationship is portrayed. I thought that was quite interesting. And on the little side quests for our characters, they find comfort in love interests. Clara's love interest is someone who she's forbidden to see, and Morgan's love interest is someone who she doesn't expect. It's a dual point of view novel. It tells the story from both their perspectives, which I found quite interesting as well, because it gives you insight into their brains. I guess that's the whole point of the dual POV. It helps you understand the relationship between them, and you see all these secrets, misunderstandings, all these things where they don't see eye to eye. They're like parallel. I would say they are like parallel lines. They are quite similar, but they never meet, and so it's quite interesting to see how the misunderstandings play out from both perspectives. In my personal opinion, I enjoyed Morgan's point of view more than I did Clara's, because I don't know, she's younger than me, so I guess it felt childish, it felt juvenile, and I'm grown now. It felt childish in some ways, and so I guess I didn't enjoy that aspect. But I really enjoyed Morgan's point of view. I would have loved the story even more if it was from both. If it was more Morgan than it was Clara, but anyways, it's fine. I still enjoy, I guess, for it to be effective for what the main book is about. I have to deal with it. I still enjoyed it though. I liked it a lot. So, oh, there was also a really big twist. I rated it 4.75 stars. So to end of the video, I want to tell you guys a little bit about the books that I'm reading currently because I started them in July, so it makes sense. Books I read in July, I read some of these books in July, so I thought it would be cool to tell you a little bit about them. The first book that I'm reading is The Worst Best Man by Mia Sosa. And how am I liking it so far? It's pretty good. I'm not too far into it, about like 20% into it, so it's not that bad. It's just okay as of right now. I think I'm also finding it quite annoying, but then that could also be a me problem. I think I need to take a break from reading romance and read other things because it's feeling repetitive and like the same stories regurgitated. So I think that's a me problem more than it is the author's problem. And the other book that I'm reading is The Subtle Art of Not Giving In by Mark Manson, and I'm about halfway, I would say, into this book, almost halfway. I have this cute little butterfly bookmark that I made, and I'm on page 76, 77, around there. I like it so far. I'll give a final review when I'm done reading it. Thank you so much for watching this video and for making it to the end. If you enjoyed it, make sure to give it a thumbs up and comment what book you're currently reading, what book you recently finished, or if any of the books I mentioned sound interesting enough for you to want to read them. And if you do read them, tell me your thoughts. I'd love to know them. You can send me a message on social media. You can follow me. I'll leave them right here. You can subscribe if you enjoy book content and you want to see more book content from me. Oh, you can follow me on the storygraph and to be pop up here. I'll also leave links in the description box below. Thank you once again for watching this video, and I hope to see you in my next one. Bye.